All right, today we're jumping into a classic story about greed, desperation, and a whole village that learns a really tough lesson. And believe it or not, it all kicks off with a single, seriously overpriced goat.
Right from the jump, the story hits you with this powerful warning. Avarice is the root of all evils. Now, that's a bold statement, but it hangs over every single character and every decision they make. Let's see exactly how this one idea brings an entire community to its knees.
So, our story begins in this small village, Kalyanpur. And here, we're going to meet a few key people whose lives are all shaped by one thing: greed. Welcome to A Village and a Miser. Okay, so three lives are about to completely collide here. First, we've got Ajit, a shopkeeper who, let's just say, clutches his coins a lot tighter than he holds on to his relationships. Then there's his wife, Saroj, who measures her self-worth in expensive silks. And finally, we have Dheeraj, a man who's just been pushed to the absolute brink of desperation. This right here, this is the world of Kalyanpur in a nutshell. On one side, you have Ajit, coldly turning away a neighbor over a tiny debt. And on the other, you have Dheeraj, literally begging for any work just to feed his family, only to get completely shut down. One man is blinded by everything he has. The other is just desperate for anything he lacks.
So what's the spark that lights this whole powder keg? It's actually a pretty simple request. Ajit's wife, Saroj, has her heart set on a fancy sari for a festival. But Ajit, being the miser he is, refuses to dip into his profits. So what's his solution? He'll just sell one of his goats. A small decision, right? Well, it's going to have some massive consequences.
And yeah, this one decision, a decision born from vanity and pure stinginess, is about to lead him down a very dark path, one that goes straight to a haunted cave.
So, Ajit takes his goat to the market. A buyer comes up and offers a totally fair price, 500 rupees. A reasonable deal for a reasonable person.
But here's the thing. Ajit is not a reasonable person. Is he interested in a fair price? Not a chance. He just scoffs and demands 2,000 rupees. That's 4 times what the goat is actually worth. As the sun starts to set, you'd think he'd lower his price, right? Nope. His greed goes into absolute overdrive. In his mind, this goat is now somehow worth 10,000 rupees. Of course, he sells nothing. And now he's stuck walking home in the dark, completely empty-handed.
This is where things get weird. The path home takes Ajit right past a cave that everyone says is haunted. And as he's getting more and more spooked in the darkness, this terrifying voice suddenly calls out to him from inside the cave.
Ajit is absolutely terrified, begging for his life. But the voice from the darkness doesn't want his life. It wants the goat, and the offer is just bizarre. Leave the goat right now and come back before dawn to get your money.
Ajit is way too scared to go home, so he just waits. As dawn breaks, he nervously calls out to the cave. A bundle gets thrown out, and inside, you're not going to believe this, 20,000 rupees. It's a fortune, way beyond even his wildest, greediest dreams.
Ajit sprints home, convinced he's the luckiest man alive. But what he thinks is his own little secret is about to become a full-blown public obsession. His story is about to ignite a contagious greed that's going to sweep through the whole village.
So how does a ghost story turn into a village-wide gold rush? Oh, it happens fast. Ajit makes his wife swear to secrecy. She immediately tells her neighbor. And from there, the rumor just spreads like wildfire. Pretty soon, the entire town is buzzing about this magical, money-giving ghost. The result is just pure madness. That night, you have villagers from every corner of Kalyanpur sneaking their goats to the cave, pushing them inside, all of them hoping for a huge payout. Even Ajit gets in on it again. Pressured by his wife, he shoves his other 10 goats into the cave, hoping to become even richer.
Before dawn, a hopeful crowd is gathered at the cave, just waiting for their payday. But the only thing they're met with is a deafening silence. The truth is about to come out.
They wait, and they wait. But there's no ghost, there's no money, and there are definitely no goats. The cave is completely empty. Well, except for a single piece of paper left on a rock.
Ajit picks up the letter and starts to read it out loud. And the very first line just stops everyone dead in their tracks. I am not a ghost. I am a human like you. The letter goes on, and the accusation is just stunning. You did not believe in a man, but did believe a ghost.
Think about that. They turned their backs on a desperate human being, but they fell all over themselves to trust a fantasy that promised them easy cash.
And then, the final reveal. The writer says he's Dheeraj, the man they all ignored. He explains he saw Ajit that first night and came up with the whole scheme. He used their own greed against them because he knew they just couldn't resist the temptation of easy money.
So, the truth is out. The goats are gone, and the entire village is left with absolutely nothing but the disastrous fallout from their own foolishness. This right here is the true price of avarice.
And the fallout is just devastating. First, Ajit realizes his 20,000 rupees are totally fake. The villagers have lost their livelihood. All their goats are gone. And they finally get it. They weren't tricked by a ghost. They were tricked by their own reflection in the mirror.
In the end, the clearest moment of truth comes from the guy who started this whole mess. Ajit takes full responsibility. He realizes that if he had just shown a tiny bit of compassion to Dheeraj on that first day, none of this ever would have happened. His punishment, he admits, was deserved. It was a lesson in basic humanity that cost him everything.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer, and to one last big question. The story really asks us to think about this. Who was the real monster here? Was it Dheeraj, the man pretending to be a ghost just to survive? Or was it the greed that was already haunting the hearts of the villagers all along?